Curse!
I'd get up. I would, Your Majesty, but my arse is frozen to the ground. Four Dwarfs Codex states it clear. If you're in a mine and something knocks, you'd do best no. Four Dwarfs Codex. I'd get up. I'd get up. I'd get up. Four Dwarfs Codex.
We would take root neath Mount.
Curse a Blackbrook Veil! Curse a... Curse a... Curse a...
We would.
Riding past a mine, Meave noticed a group of miners gathered around the entrance to a shaft. Frost had settled on their moustaches and beards, suggesting they had been there for some time. The Queen summoned Gabor and asked him to determine the reason for this sit-in. He returned after a few minutes and announced the most curious thing.
They're waiting for the knocking to stop.
Meave's frown prompted Gabor to explain in greater detail.
According to our laws, dwarves can't go into a mine if there's knocking coming from inside. We're obliged to wait for the ruckus to quieten down.
Ah, yes. Our own miners share this superstition.
Reynard interjected.
They say the knocking is that of a treasure unknown, a kind of mine ghost.
With all due respect, your miners are dimwits.
Gabor said, patting Reynard on the shoulder.
Knocking means an imminent and abrupt discharge of the potential pliable energy of rock formations. In other words, you can, a rock burst. Except usually it's all done in a day or two, whereas these lads have been waiting going on 2 weeks. Foreman's grown impatient. He'd like to send someone down the shaft, have them see what's at issue, but, well, the code forbids us from doing anything of the sort.
If in this manner I can gain favour among your brethren,
Sighed the Queen, dismounting.
so be it. I shall descend and see what the problem is.
The shaft was too narrow to fit an entire army. So Meave and a small unit of men entered the mine, miners' lamps in hand, and hearts in their mouths. The rhythmic knocking coming from the bowels of the mountains, distorted and multiplied, was unnerving. Soon the company arrived at the place that seemed the source of the knocking. Gabor put his ear to the rock and listened for several moments in silence, then struck the wall with all his might. The wall crumbled with a crash, opening a passage into another corridor, from which sprang numerous foes.
Did you hear something? What was that?
My gnome senses are telling me. Those definitely aren't ghosts.
As you command.
Who goes there? Drop your weapons!
Nay, you drop yours!
You can try to win them all, but you won't.
Army's a waste of time for one like me.
Who just grabbed me?
Oh, apologies, Maeve. I thought you were raining.
Left, right, left, right. Again and again and again.
Can't take it anymore.
Ah!
Can you use this? Not sure if it works yet, but...
If the ring won't come off, just take the whole finger.
All right, that's no problem.
Reynard, are we winning? I can't see a bloody thing.
Catch!
Army's a waste of time for one like me.
up, we surrender!
Both sides were surprised. Both fought in the weak light of torches, nearly down on hands and knees. In the end, the Queen emerged victorious, and as soon as she had returned her sword to its sheath, she asked the new prisoners a question that was on everyone's mind.
Who the devils are you?
The captives looked at each other in disbelief, as if before them stood a ghost. Finally, one of them managed to choke out a response.
Your Highness, we're your subjects.
Meve recognized the accent at once. The men came from Rivia. But what were they doing so far from home? According to the prisoner's account, after the Nilfgaardians' invasion of their kingdom, terrible poverty gripped the land. Seeking bread, some desperate inhabitants had gone to the mountains of Mahakam, engaging in wildcat mining in search of precious ores. Without asking the dwarves what they thought of this.
You know yourself, my queen.
Explained one captured Riv.
They guard their treasure real jealous-like, don't care a whit about the suffering of others. They see us starving down in valley and don't lift a stubby finger.
Sadly, the Rivians had dug close to existing corridors. When Gabor destroyed the wall that stood between them and the dwarves, they were convinced they were being attacked by monsters, so they raised arms in self-defense.
Maeve, 'tis a tough nut to again,
said Gabor.
but let's nae kid ourselves. These men are thieves, and we must hand them over to the Mahakaman Guard.
So they may do what? Sentence them to hard labor, or hang them at once?
Said Reynard, his usual calm shaken and his voice raised.
These are your subjects, Queen. They coveted their neighbors' goods, true, but only because they had nought themselves.
The foreman wished for the knocking to stop,
said the Queen.
and so it shall. As for you, go back to Rivia, and tell all their queen shall soon return, leading an army.
The grateful Rivs quickly packed up their tools and left the mountains. Meve had no doubt Bruva Hoog would soon learn of the affair and would certainly not approve of her decision. Yet she preferred...
Well, boys, are we swig? Well, boys, are we swig and we get back to work?
The sound of approaching hoofbeats made Meve turn to see Reynard spurring on his panting horse, galloping at a breakneck speed towards her.
Ill tidings I bring, Your Grace.
Clearly. Glad tidings never arrive with such urgency.
Our scouts captured a Nilfgaardian messenger. He was traveling in disguise, and by night. When he realized his capture was imminent, he strove to destroy the letters he carried. We were able to salvage some, in parts.
Anything of interest?
Yes, there is, I fear. Your Majesty, you must listen. Consider your offer accepted. Direct Meve and her force to the agreed site. We await their arrival. Your reward shall be as agreed. Hail, Keritsa.
A traitor. We might have expected as much. Nilfgaard has shown amply that it abides only by the rules it sets. Since they have not proved able to defeat me in the field, in open battle, they seek other means. I suppose the scroll bears no name.
It does not, Your Grace.
The messenger. Have you questioned him?
Naturally, Your Grace. Alas, he knows not to whom the letter is directed. He was to leave it in an agreed spot.
I take it tidings of the whole affair have spread throughout the...
Yes, Your Majesty. The witnesses were too many to keep this fact a secret.
We must thus assume the traitor in our ranks knows it as well, and will make no attempt to retrieve the scroll. A dead end. Have we any other leads or clues?
None, I fear, Your Majesty. We must be alert. Keep a keen eye on events as they unfold, and exercise great caution in forging new acquaintances.
Very well. Eyes wide open, all senses attuned. Yours in particular, Reynard.
Of course, my liege.
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Hey?
Aye.
Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
Should have listened to me old lady. Should have listened to me old lady. Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye.
Bigger they are, easier they are to target. Thing about slings, they hide well.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye. Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away.
Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away.
Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Bigger they are, easier they are to tag.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Thing about slings, they hide well.
Aye. Should have listened to me old lady. Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth?
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away.
Aye. Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Hey? Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye. Should have listened to me, old lady. This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Bigger they are, easier they are to target. Thing about slings, they hide well.
Aye. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye. Should have listened to me, old lady.
Hey? Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads.
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away. Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye.
Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
Should have listened to me old lady.
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away.
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads.
Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye.
Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
Should have listened to me old lady.
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away. bigger they are, easier they are to target. Hey?
Should have listened to me, old lady. This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads.
Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth?
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye. Aye. Should have listened to me, old lady. This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye.
Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth? I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away.
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye.
Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth?
Should have listened to me, old lady.
I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away.
This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Hey? Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth?
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye. Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Hey?
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. Aye. Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Bigger they are, easier they are to target. Thing about slings, they hide well.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye. Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Thing about slings, they hide well. Hey?
Aye. Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die.
Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth? I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away.
Aye. Aye. Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to die.
I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Aye. Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Have it the white of an eye from half a league away. Bigger they are, easier they are to target. Thing about slings, they hide well. Hey?
Should have listened to me old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Should have listened to me old lady.
Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth? I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away.
Meave's force neared Davor's abyss. Signs of beastly feasting were not hard to find. Countless paw and claw tracks were impressed in the blood-stained snow. Among the boulders, bones picked clean were strewn about. Gascon lifted one from the ground.
Empty inside,
he said.
Something sucked out the marrow.
Meave's soldiers feigned indifference to the grisly sight. They marched on, their stepped rhythm unwavering, a song on their lips. Yet hearing a slight tremolo in their voices, Meave knew they merely sought to drown out their fear. A moment later, a commander's horn sounded, the signal to halt. The Queen galloped to the fore of the column and found herself at the edge of a vast, round hole in the ground. She could not see the bottom. Meave drew her reins tight to prevent her mount from taking even one step forward.
What is this? A crater? A desiccated lake?
A mine of the strip variety,
Gabor explained.
Treasures we picked and shoveled for here. Diamonds. Till we happened on the beasts, that is.
What now?
Orion's a dam. Holds back a lake. If we can break it, water will rush in, fill the abyss and the tunnels from which the beasts emerge. Just need to get around the mine first. Way down's on the other side.
Meave squinted and gazed into the distance. Indeed, there was the dam. And at its foot,
Gabor!
Meave cried out over the whirling wind.
Have you bards here in Mahakam?
Of course, Your Grace!
Then we shall give them good reason to compose this day, on the themes of courage, of heroism, of Lyria! Gee up!
And with that cry, the Queen spurred her mount, grabbed a banner, and raising it high over her head, rushed headlong at the horrid swarm.
Here's the way down! We need to break through and destroy the dam!
I live to serve you.
Catch!
again and again and again.
Yeah, yeah!
Ha!
Army's a waste of time for one like me.
Without hesitation.
We'll catch 'em all! Your Grace, monsters approach from all sides.
Ha!
Left, right, left, right.
The chase is on! Ow!
My pain serves a purpose.
One man's battlefield is another man's ripe patch for harvest.
I'd be ashamed to let this energy go waste.
Here's the way down. We need to break through and destroy the dam.
Army's a waste of time for one like me. Left, right, left, right. Again and again and again.
You can try to win them all, but you won't.
Naturally. At once.
This could hurt. Watch your heads!
Your Grace, monsters approach from all sides.
Can't take it anymore.
Nothing personal, I assure you.
Excellent! The dam's about to give!
I only loot corpses, except sometimes they're quite fresh.
battling shall bring us victory!
Use it. Not sure for what just yet, but...
Yeah, yeah!
We'll catch 'em all!
Yes?
It worked! Look at those stunners flounder!
Excellent work!
And indeed, bards sang of this battle soon after. For no claws or fangs could break through the wall of shields the Lyrians raised that day. And no scales could protect the beasts from the Lyrians' stinging arrows and blades.
Fight! Do not relent! Let us show these beasts! It is they who should fear us!
The Queen shouted. In the end, the beasts turned to flee, yet Neve's force cut off any chance of escape. A solid wall of men began to push the monsters ever closer to the edge of Davor's abyss. Pressed from all sides, the horrors began slipping over the precipice, screeching terribly as they fell. Silence came at last. The Queen stood at the edge of the precipice, breathing heavily, leaning on her sword. From the depths of the mine came muted growls and groans.
Let's flood the damn hole,
Hissed Gabor.
before any other shite crawls out of it.
A rush of icy water suddenly rose, then just as abruptly plunged into the mine, flooding the pit. And where once lay Davor's abyss, now lay Davor's pond. Neve descended back into the pass, exhausted and covered in beastly blood, yet also exceedingly pleased. She was one step closer to dwarven support in the war against Nilfgaard. Once the Lyrians had put some distance between themselves and the now destroyed monster lair, Neve ordered her men to pitch camp. Then she sent the quartermaster off for food and drink. The soldiers lit campfires, then set aside their weapons. Soon after, lively music and song could be heard throughout the camp.
Your Majesty,
Reynard said from behind Meave's back.
A messenger from the Elder-in-Chief.
The Queen turned to see a dwarf in a richly adorned jerkin and a shako with golden seams. She stifled her laugh into a smile and lifted her chin proudly, expecting praise and a pledge of aid in the war against Nilfgaard.
My lady, your daring deeds have come to the Elder's attention,
said the dwarf in a measured voice.
He's positively irate and demands an explanation.
Irate? But why? I and my men, we've aided you greatly.
Elder Hugh awaits at the Long Bridge. You'd be wise not to keep him there any length of time.
And with that, all the Queen's enthusiasm for a celebration was instantly gone. She waited until the fires expired and the songs died down, then gave the order to march. Gazing towards the horizon, Niamh noticed a dark shape outlined against the mantle of snow that lay on the ground. It proved a tower, toppled and broken in pieces. Around it lay the ruins of other buildings, blocks hewn out of basalt rock protruding from the permafrost.
That'd be the Clan Vidmar ruins,
said Gabor, hollering over the wind.
Rich ones had their clan seat here till earth tremors turned all into dust. Hundreds of dwarves lived here once, and now, not a living soul.
Help! Save me!
On the contrary, there was someone midst the ruins, and said someone was clearly in trouble. Niamh ordered her men to find the unfortunate soul. They returned moments later, leading a dwarf whose teeth chattered. They had found him in a ruined building where he'd sought shelter from ghouls. Judging by his appearance, the dwarf had spent the better part of a week there.
Mirko Vidmar, they call me.
He said, patting down unkempt hair that seemed to reach in all directions.
I came here seeking a family heirloom, lost in the tremors and the chaos they caused. I ken the chamber where it ought to be, but, well, beasts made their lair there. I cannot drive them off on my own. But bold warriors like you ought to cut them down in a jiffy. So, will you help?
I too have lost my home, estate,
said the Queen.
So I understand well what you feel. I shall help you recover your heirloom. Call it a win.
Mirko Vidmar's face lit up. Though he'd spent a week besieged and eating stale biscuits, and though there was a hoarfrost in his beard, he quickly trotted to the front of the column and led the Lyrian soldiers to the underground chamber. As promised, beasts awaited there.
From there they come! Drive them back!
Huh? Huh?
Yes?
The chase is on!
Left, right, left, right. Again and again and again. Army's a waste of time for one like me.
Can't take it anymore.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
Watch your heads!
Can use it. Not sure for what. If the ring won't come off, just take the whole finger.
Fear not. We shall achieve our goal.
One man's battlefield is another man's ripe patch for harvest.
I live to serve you.
Let's get a move on before any others show up.
As soon as the fight was done, Mirko Vidmar ran towards a crate that stood on a pedestal, slipping on the now bloody floor. When the dwarf lifted the lid, precious stones
Seems to me Brother Mirko wasn't wholly candid with us. This here's no heirloom, no family souvenir. It's the treasure trove of Clan Vidmar. We thought it gone for good.
Pressed for the truth, Mirko admitted no family sentiment had prompted this expedition. The dwarf had planned to leave Mahakam and start a new life among humans, yet he did not wish to do so without sizable capital.
I canna stand to stay here a moment longer. The days, all of them, they're identical. Rise with the first cockscrow, march in double file to the latrine, crap on command, 12 hours down the shaft and home to sleep.
Mirko complained.
Want a wifey? Put in an application. In triplicate. Care to snip your beard? Elders got to approve it. You want to add buttermilk, not cream, to your mushroom soup? Clan council's got to debate it. How's a dwarf not to get balmy?
I understand the lad, no two ways about it.
Gabor sighed.
But I feel it's my duty to remind yous that what Mirko's going and doing here, well, there are laws. Treasure's due the Elder-in-Chief, not to Mirko, that's one. Second, any dwarf that wants to leave Mahakam can't take nothing but his breeches, his dixie and his coat. So, brief like, consider well afore you make your decision, Your Grace.
I sympathise, Mirko,
said Meve.
but I'm a crowned head. I must decline. National interest requires I show the greatest possible care for my relations with Elder-in-Chief Hugh. Yet in aiding you, I could sour those greatly. I shall return the treasure to him, I must. While you do what you will.
Mirko Vidmar swore under his breath, then jostled his way through the Lyrian infantry and into the mountains, towards human lands.
Frozen, all. Only the banner moves, blown by the wind.
Downright poetic. Prime material for a ballad, perhaps even a whole saga.
The Lyrians rode a narrow, winding path along the rocky ridge. To one side were ice-covered boulders, to the other, a chasm hundreds of feet deep.
They could have at least erected some barriers,
complained Gascon, knocking snow from his cap.
Got plans for that?
Gabor said.
Just need to decide how high to make them. What? Think. Should they be the height of your average dwarf or a human? The debate's gone on for 20 years. On the one hand, you've got...
Gabor did not finish his discussion. He was interrupted by the Baba Ghazi that jumped down from the rocks.
Archers, shoot! Aim for underbelly!
Neve's soldiers made quick work of the lone monster. But the sound of battle spooked the horses harnessed to one of her wagons.
Whoa there! Whoa, damn it!
The driver tried to rein in the animals, but could not. They dragged him into the chasm along with his cart and the soldiers riding in it. They landed a few dozen feet below on a rocky outcropping.
Did you see how they fared? Anyone left alive?
Asked me, leaning over the cliff edge.
Worry more about their cargo,
Gascon replied.
They were also carrying chests of gold.
Blast. We can't get down there. Too steep and the snow keeps falling.
We can lower ourselves down a line. But without armor, shields, or heavy weapons, otherwise it will snap.
And the Baba Ghazis?
The Queen said, brow raised.
We shan't kill them with daggers. They're too thick of armor.
We'll have to try. Or continue on our way.
You only live once.
Neve sighed.
Gascon, round up some volunteers and let us move out.
Moments later, the Queen was lowering herself down a line straight towards the gaping maw of a Baba Ghazi. Her only armor, a woolen shirt.
No one try to be a hero!
Yeah!
Ah!
We'll catch 'em all!
No one try to be a hero!
Watch your heads!
You sure about that?
Bereft of sword and shield, Meve could not withstand a single blow. She thus danced atop the frozen snow, deftly dodging the Barbegazi's lightning-fast strikes, while delivering but a few well-aimed hits of her own to their eyes, ears, and gaping jaws. When the last monster fell lifeless to the ground, Meve walked up to the shattered wagon. The soldiers it had carried were bruised, frostbitten, but alive.
Your Grace, we were sure you'd leave us.
A good ruler never abandons her folk.
Nor her gold,
Gascon interjected, while securing a rope to a chest. Soon enough, all were safely back on the path. The admiration Meve saw in her soldiers' eyes was in itself sufficient reward for her difficult battle.
Got a blow before too long. Bring a rush down.
Braving the snow in those meagre cup.
worse. sailed into troubled waters, mate.
Your wish, my duty.
Follow me this way.
Naturally, of course.
Welcome to me inn. We've many folk to... Good to see you again. We've many folk to... We've many... Welcome. We've many folk... We've many folk today.
us up a shale, Mazar.
Niamh now witnessed a sorry sight. A mass funeral for miners killed due to a tragic convergence of events. Their lead caskets lay upon the snow, wreaths of hop cones laid upon them in turn. The mourners waited for the diggers to finish. The digging was tough, for the ground was frozen. As the crunch and thud of picks and shovels continued, the dead miner's foreman scrambled onto a boulder to make a speech. Angry shouts and loud booing stopped him.
You knew it! You knew they'd smell vapors, but you ordered them to keep digging till it blew up in their faces!
Make the daily quota whatever the cost, eh?
You've blood on your mitts, whoreson!
A mourner then picked up a chunk of frozen ground and threw it at the foreman. Blood spurted from the gash that appeared on his forehead. The first dirt chunk was followed by another, then by a rock, a brick. Niamh realized that if she did not intervene, the foreman stood to be stoned to death. Something had to be done quickly. Niamh saw this clearly. She spurred her mount and rode into the cemetery, pushing through the throng, then stopping before the foreman, the horse shielding him from further blows.
Calm yourselves! Silence! His guilt cannot be decided here. It must!
Before Niamh could finish her plea, a large rock thrown from the crowd struck her bosom, nearly knocking her from her saddle. Upon seeing this, her Lyrian escort lowered spears and drew swords and rushed at the angry mourners.
Shino Kren!
Isbel cried out. Her hands began to radiate a fierce light that blinded both dwarves and Lyrians alike.
Have you lost your minds, all of you together? Not had your fill of misfortune yet? Lower your arms at once.
Whether the power of Isbel's magic or the force of her appeal had the greater effect is difficult to say for certain. Either way, both sides suddenly lost the desire to fight. Niamh breathed a sigh of relief, aware that if not for Isbel's intervention, a great amount of blood would have been spilled at that cemetery.
Well, we may have gotten a wee bit carried away. 'Tis good you brought back some order.
Well, we knew that. Well, we knew there'd be a stink cause of this. Well.
Again and again and again. An army's a waste of time for one like me.
I only loot corpses, except sometimes they're quite fresh.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
Can use it. Not sure for what just yet.
I live to serve you.
Left, right, left, right.
Catch!
For you, pal, anything.
Again and again and again.
You can try to win them all, but you won't.
If the ring won't come off, just take the whole finger.
Army's a waste of time for one like me.
Fear not. We shall achieve our goal.
Can't take it anymore.
So much anger and suffering. For what?
without hesitation.
One man's battlefield is another man's ripe patch for harvest.
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
The Lyrians ascended the highest section of the Mahakam Range. Snow crunched under their boots, cold air stung their lungs, and the wind snapped at their cloaks. Meve wiped sweat from her brow and turned to Reynard.
There! By the rocks! We shall...
The rest of her words were drowned out by a powerful blast. The entire mountain rumbled with a low, vibrating roar. The sound grew louder, echoing off the rocks, splitting their ears. The Lyrians looked around, disoriented. Few heard Gabor's warning.
Dinna just stand there! Get behind a rock! Quick! Hurry!
Meve followed the dwarf's gaze and cried out in terror. The snow stuck to the mountainside had started to slide down the slope, sending up mists of icy dust. Before she could react, the white torrent knocked her to her knees, crushing her and smothering her into the ground. All she felt after that was all-encompassing cold and fear. Meve survived. The dwarves who ran to the Lyrians' rescue dug her out of the snow in time. Some of her soldiers were not so lucky. The Queen looked at their bodies, blue, frozen. Next to them lay dead horses, demolished wagons. The losses were enormous. Meve wiped her cheek. Her tears burned her frozen skin. Gabor spoke a while with the leader of the Mahakam Guard Patrol that had come to their
What? What have you learned?
I'll tell you all in good time.
No, Gabor. I need to find out what in blazes happened here.
Well, it was an avalanche.
Of course it was an avalanche. I'm no fool. But what caused it? What was that noise?
Signal horns. Ours.
So you brought this snow down on us? Dwarves!
Well, aye, but, unawares.
Explain, in brief.
See, we clean our mount regularly. The way menfolk shovel snow off the roofs. Otherwise, the whole shebang would come tumbling down on our heads. When snow's gathered deep enough, we blast our horns to cause a controlled avalanche. Then we need to, sweep up a wee bit and the road's safe.
All well and good, but why did you decide to clean up right as I was passing through?
Wondering that myself. Schedule says next cleaning should have been a week from now, but someone asked the route to be cleared earlier.
Who?
Maeve, I'll tell you. But first,
Who?
Hey. Owain ep Glenvok, the Nilfgaardian emissary. Think it were meant as revenge.
The bastard. Reynard! Reynard!
Wait! Wait! I understand you're a wee bit upset, you've every right. But you'll never prove Owain meant you harm. The sly weasel will make sure he didn't dirty his own paws.
I've no such scruples. I'll find him and kill him.
And then? How'd you tell that tale to Bruva? Maeve, you're justly torqued, but for the love, just this once, let it go. Or you'll leave Mahakam with nae a scrap to show for it.
Moments later, scouts reported Owain was camped to the north of the accident site. Maeve had to decide how much she was willing to risk to get her revenge on the Imperial emissary.
By the Elder's sideburns, I'd no notion anyone was in the Vale. Nilfgaardian said the road was clear. The Horsons. What a mess. Nilfgaardian... By the Nilfgaardian said... What a mess. I'm so sorry. With all my heart.
Whispered one of the scouts.
Left of the path.
Maeve squinted. The Nilfgaardian... Maeve's gaze caught something else. A metal container into which the Nilfgaardians tossed bones once they'd been gnawed clean. It looked strangely familiar. Only after a moment did the Queen understand it was an overturned Lyrian helmet dug out of the snowy grave of one of her men.
The Horsons.
Maeve hissed.
They'll pay for this.
Maeve! Asking you last time, keep a cool head.
Whispered Gabor.
You want vengeance? I get it. But think of the cost. If so much as a hair gets plucked...
No,
said the Queen after long deliberation.
But milady, they...
I know what they did. And that I shall never forget nor forgive.
Said Maeve, placing a hand on her scout's shoulder.
But breaking Dwarven law only plays into...
While passing the mining settlement of Kolstock, Maeve heard the sounds of battle.
Hey-ho! Into the fray, lads!
Expecting she would see monsters swarming dwarves, the Queen set off at a gallop to the rescue. Her braid blew about in the wind like a banner, showing her men in which direction to attack. The dwarves she saw, however, were not engaged in a battle against Shaelmars and Barbigazes. No, they were going at one another. Luckily, no weapons had yet been drawn, but given the dwarves have hands the size of bread loaves, this did not necessarily mean there would be no deaths.
Oi, lads!
Roared Gabor Zigrin.
What's this foolishness? Calm the hell down, damn it!
Gabor's intervention proved successful. The dwarves limited themselves to verbal jousting. Maeve, who was no stranger to barrack room talk, nonetheless turned crimson at the dwarves' cursing. Piecing together the obscenities, Maeve concluded they were debating an old quarrel about the height of a certain mountain, or rather of the twin peaks atop it. One of them lay in the territory of Clan Dahlberg, while the other in the Hoogsland. Each family felt their peak was the highest, all measurements indicating the contrary being total fabrications.
Queen?
Started Gabor, nervously chewing his moustache.
They're asking if you, as yin impartial and a fair-minded wench to boot, wouldn't wish to settle their Egypt squabble once and for all.
Meve knew well that this type of age-old quarrel could easily end in bloodshed, so she resolved to help. Representatives of the two clans gave her a strange mechanism she was to use to measure elevation. All that was left was for the Queen to button her coat up to the neck and scale the twin peaks.
Time to end this delicate feud, once and for all. Time to...
When she and her force had travelled half the way to the first, she heard a long roar that made snow shelves detach and descend. Without waiting for her scouts to return with reports, Meve drew her sword.
Without hesitation.
Eyes up, lads! They're flying straight for us!
Army's a waste of time for one like me. Left, right, left, right.
I think you'll really like this one.
You can try to win them all, but you won't.
Quite the clever little contraption they gave us. Work of a gnome, of course.
Again and again and again.
Wait, you're serious?
Army's a waste of time for one like me.
We'll catch 'em all!
One man's battlefield is another man's ripe patch for harvest.
Oh, shame to let this bounty go to waste.
The chase is on! Company, forward march!
I smell a leak.
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
As ordered.
That bit the white of an eye from half a league away.
You sure about that?
Take those measurements and let's be gone from this place.
The Lyrians managed to repel the monsters and reach both peaks. Upon each, Meve ordered her men to take the measurements. While waiting, she admired the breathtaking view of the Mahakaman Massif. The dwarven contraption left no room for doubt. The peak within the Dahlberg clan territory was 2 feet higher